but everyone said. And then for the first time, you started your man, sugar. Oh, sir, and a cardiac and Quamagma.
And you get out yourself and you can walk as a lady.
You know, when you go and say, you can grant for me, knowing that you
as if it needs
on Penocre, United to me.
When you were in the
oh, as if it needs
Sasaki make Shannon for me. I done it too much.
Prof. See, my prof now, you profs are. I said, no, I'm ready. You know, Sam, prof, no. Let me was original.
Now, the car said, McCram corner of Vietnam Castle far for Drew. As in United farm and swat it.
Less than 24 hours.
More fair. Nanka said the dressing now for my tea. What pretty papa be a demo was say.
Manchester United.
Okay, Maestro, Maestro will. Now, Basso, me no be here to make it. Maestro, Maestro, Daddy, may I mean, Mr. Young Queen, because you're not technical issue be on virus. Okay. Vincent Pepros, I'm watching live from Libya. More fire. Okay, what dear, but Antonio Pia Mensa watching the show live inside Wasa Japan. Fatal Sports, more fire. Emmanuel Jima, Chelsea update. Osu Maxwell, or being good afternoon, Fakye TV. And Philip Kwabri Kasemo, or say the message about. Okay, Maestro.
Luka, I think, say, Enra, me set a lot of records over here, say, when it comes to Europa League. Tottenham Hotspur is actually dominating over Manchester United, and there's no way that Manchester United can easily dominate against Tottenham Hotspur in any other competitions on Meshia this season. Enra match Nekanwa, fourth competitive match in Meshia this season, and Tottenham Hotspur was able to dominate against the side of Manchester United, and they showed their supremacy over Manchester United. And even Ange Postecoglou against Ruben Amorim also showed the dominance against these particular two coaches. But then on record, it is actually only two clubs per NO England or Mitimaseti record when it comes to the UEFA Cup and even the Europa, Super League or Mobile and Enra in that particular finals. No. Liverpool renewed that particular trophy in 1973. Omusabe renewed in 1976 and they won it in 2001. Whilst Tottenham Hotspur also renewed in 1972, 1984, and just recently Enra 2025. So 3 times in that particular row, no, the side of Tottenham Hotspur and the Liverpool Football Club has made that particular history and record as the only 2 English football clubs. When it comes to UEFA Cup and when it comes to Europa League, they've been able to win it 3 consecutive times for themselves, and they have achieved that particular mantle for that particular football club. But for Tottenham Hotspur, win in 1972, win in 1984, in 2025. When it comes to a coach, Ange Postecoglou, over this particular season, he said it on so many countless times, we every trophy in most of the clubs with him are coaching in his second season. Our coach down most of these favorite clubs our coaching, and then he showed say with Tottenham Hotspur last season occurred trophyless, and this season with him really something good for the side of Tottenham Hotspur. And yet Tottenham Soccer Melbourne in Australia as far back in 1971. The first season in 1970, he wasn't able to win a major trophy for Melbourne FC in Australia. But then when he came in the second season in 1971, he was able to win 2 trophies for Melbourne FC and Australia Football Club. In 2012-2011, for the side of Japan, coaching Yokohama Mariners, he was able to make sure in his second season, in 2011-2012, because 2010 occurred trophyless out of that particular football club. But in 2011-2012 season, he was able to win 2 double league for the side of Yokohama or Mankasa Football Club, and he achieved that particular thing. Against Celtic, he was able to make that same trophy for the side of Celtic. The first major season, he wasn't able to win a lot of things, but then in his second debut season, he was able to make sure renew with Scottish cup on the other side of Celtic Football Club, and even 2022-2023 season, the Scottish League Cup, he won it for the side of Celtic Football Club, and even to the side of 2022-23, the Scottish Premiership, he was able to win that particular league for the side of Celtic Football Club. So, checking with the history of Ange Postecoglou, okran identity, okran values. He has his own things. So Oba in a particular football club, he can easily do it for the club. So irrespective, set Tottenham Hotspur. Last time winning a particular major trophy was far back in 2008 when they won the League Cup and now your friends a Carling Cup in that particular spells. In the last 17 years, Anyi Postecoglou has been able to maintain that particular major trophy for them. And they have been able to make sure, say, Omanka say, Bitsman make it that history for themselves. But so with Manchester United, when they started dominating from 1964, 1965, every 1998, they've become that particular football club. Since 2008, they've reached other successive competition in Europe now. In the second runner-up, and from Manchester United. 2009-2011, they went into the UEFA Champions League final. But then Omuremu in the second runner-up against Barcelona. And even in 2021, Omuremu in Villarreal in Europa League, the Omuremu as second runner-up at Villarreal, Etimiji from and Enra. When they went into the final, they were not able to win against Tottenham Hotspur. So it tells you, say, Manchester United from 2008 Omuremu in European competition, making sure so me winning, except 2017, Jose Mourinho, asserted that particular record at the moment. They've not been able to do that particular thing for themselves as a major football club, asserted their mom. But this season, boss, so we check it in history, because football is a repetitive action. Whether you like it or not, they see in 1963, say date in history and everything in football, the football goal to definitely in the next 20, 21, and I say 20 years, 22 years to come now, the same history will happen in football. The AC in this particular season, say Bologna, go away in 51 years. No, omutimi edge that particular Coppa Italia, Italy, it has become a history because almost coming up in most of these European football clubs are. When it comes to say Omanka say go away from so winning competitive league this season, they've actually reignited Omanka victorious against most of the major football clubs this season. And Bologna go Eagles and make it that particular trophy cabinet, and so you their mom. When you talk about Tottenham Hotspur and also winning that particular trophy after 17 years of winning trophy, they've done it for themselves. A lot of football clubs make sure say they've been able to do that particular thing for themselves. But so we'll check it in that particular Spence in 2004 season. I want to take you back in 2004 season because in 2004 season, a lot of history in a team depicted in football and because in 2004 FC Porto, for the first time in so many years, no more go into the UEFA Cup and that's a European Cup final for so many years, but no to me winning. But when Jose Mourinho took that particular football club in 2004, because in 2003, now FC Porto Odome win the Europa League. He took them to the Champions League final in 2004, and they were able to win that particular 2004 Champions League against AS Monaco. So in that same year, Tunisia in AFCON, not Omuwini Bida, but in 2004, they were able to win their first AFCON final. Winning that particular major trophy, at the mother side of Tunisia in the first history for that particular national team at the moment. Since then, Tunisia team even into the finals, Encore AFCON final, Encore GB, and they made that particular history in 2004. So we check it at the bar in that same year, Greece go into the Euros 2004. The first time in that particular year, that particular opening game with Portugal. Almost also for the last game, and that's the closing game with Portugal, and they won that particular Euro. So the underrated people, now that's the Milos, in football, they are doing it. They did it in 2004. What they call Arsenal Football Club in 2004. Arsenal, at that time, almost the English Premiership. Not only so much the English Premiership, but the record of the English Premiership was the invisible record because they went unbeaten in 2004. That was a history. All those Arsenal with Arsene Wenger had a lot of trophies within that particular time. But then in 2004, they were able to make sure go in invisibles, no more unbeaten run in the 2004 English Premiership. That was a history for them, and they also had their fair share of that particular thing. But when you go to Colombia, there was a particular football club called the Canal Adas, and they won the Copa Libertadores against Boca Juniors. 1-1. But Muko penalty shootout, and no one can say we need that particular trophy, and the more they made that history for themselves. So we're checking that particular 2004 season now. That was the first time I hosted the Euros, hosted the Asian Cup, hosted the site of the Coppa Italia. Omo hosted a lot of trophies within that same year, competitively within that same year. And it happened in 2004. But that same year also, no, Brazil and Argentina come in the Copa final, and they were able to make sure, so for the first time in history, Brazil and Argentina beat my room in that particular final. So that history now set it on in this particular year.
Okay.
Tottenham may win in the last 17 years. Bologna in the last 51 years, or more winning. A lot of things they come.
And even Farmer
Betis. But Betis the energy in 2022. Almost one particular trophy in 2022. So just recently, but between Chelsea and Real Betis, when it comes to the European Conference, they will be that. So that will be the first time man can see me in the room. But so a football club between Chelsea and Real Betis are room and also a lot of trophies within the recent years. It is about Chelsea Football Club. Or make trophies within these same successive years now. Or make a lot of trophies. But for Real Betis, recently 2022 and Chelsea edged the Champions League in 2021 against Manchester City. So the major trophies, no, both of these particular two football clubs, no, it imagine a lot of trophies. But so we'll share all of these things now make now. So we're going to the Bundesliga in 2004. Werder Bremen, it made the Bundesliga for the first time in history. And Omankasa Football Club player at that time not only that particular trophy in Ediama Werder Bremen, no, he scored 28 goals within that particular same season. Valencia in 2004 in the Spanish La Liga. The first Spanish La Liga under the new format for Valencia in 2004. Okay. And it tells you it's a football, no, it's a repetitive action. What was chat now? They see 2004, you may see 2004 history, no, and one is also repeating in this particular year. So it tells you say it can easily replenish and the basically a idea in football. But Enra, so we remove in the tactical first 11er. And you put a school Eddie Rema. Say Gilbert Eddie two board no so you can easily have a feel of that particular thing that he wanted to do within Manchester United Football Club. Manchester set up, no? Because Manchester United will Manolo Gatti and then Casemiro he needed to switch to make sure say Obobo Pepe matters as a typical creativa, so he can easily penetrate into the defensive action of Manchester United. Because it was very difficult. So James Madison won't think you as a central attacking midfielder. And there will be a lot of space between that particular midfielder, not Tottenham Hotspur, that particular tenor. But if we saw ball, Pepe Matasa, as a typical creativa, making sure so no as a box-to-box midfielder, and sometimes he can just play inside behind Dominic Solanke. It showed the prowess of Andy Postecoglou for the first time. Number 4 Kase on both flamboyant football, and then he doesn't play that kind of sweet footballer. Tottenham Hotspur, it may win a lot of things this season. But he showed, say, the reason why Brendan Johnson not turned in about football club this season, our Auburn in this particular season all share 18 goals across all competition, making sure that he will become that important figure. Most of the important goals at Tottenham now, he has shown, say, this is the timer. I was say Andy Postecoglou, no, then Levy Ebonabaso, no extending the contract, no Edemano, on the side of Tottenham Hotspur.
So you agree with supporters, the players, or more appealing, or more man in Twasso?
Oh yes, boss. Oh man in Twasso. Andy Postecoglou. With a small raw materials when you're this season, and with the kind of things on one can say it's not the
but that's why winning the Europa League on performance or Premier League, you know. And
with these two teams.
2 months the Premier League will be winning match.
Yeah.
2 months in only will be winning match of Premier League.
Yeah.
Conforming no more than one any.
And we show in the English Premiership League log now. With the system, with the and Koyi from 17th Manchester United. And you want to make sure so bit match the Europa League finals. Ain't me in fact. But say Luka Modric, and in the football is here, and I saw the baby of Real Madrid Football Club. This is a boy when he came to Real Madrid Football Club in 2013. That time, that year. Madrid got to Tottenham Hotspur, no? Yeah. Then Levy catch on Tony Farman.
Oh yeah.
He came to that particular
time.
He came to Madrid at that moment in time, Luther. Saturday no Obedru Madrid, Saturday my class and Real Madrid Football Club. Obi Kevin, not ACM ever as a loanee.
Okay.
But then Luka Modric got married as a permanent transfer player from Tottenham Hotspur to Real Madrid Football Club. Obayeno, he has shared most of the memorable tattoo things that Madrid has shared on the pitch of play. 2014, when Madrid was winning the La Decima, that time Real Madrid go in so many years so much winning the Champions League. This man was part of that particular squad.
Okay.
That corner, 93rd corner, now you 2-man share. It was this particular man. Wayebi. And for football, one of the greatest ever.
Jude Bellingham, thank you for everything.
Great. It tells you the kind of leadership what show Edema Real Madrid over the last.
Maestro and what's in Cano. Gilbert,